Welcome to the first lesson in this series, Key Action Number 1, Prioritizing. This key action identifies more critical and less critical activities and assignments. Most people constantly juggle multiple tasks and activities and must decide at any one time where to focus their limited time and energy. By prioritizing tasks, you can first concentrate on activities with the highest payoff. You can also ensure that the most important work is completed first, not just the most urgent. You can also eliminate the non-essentials and complete more of the right tasks. The law of priority says, leaders understand that activity doesn't always mean accomplishment. This principle makes or breaks managers because it is the key that either makes them effective or ineffective. Effective managers understand how to get the right things done, rather than focusing on getting more done. To be a good manager, you must understand the importance of knowing the answers to the following questions. First one, what is required of me? What should I do that no one else can do or should do? What am I currently doing that can be done by someone on my team who can do it at least 80% as well as me? Now, why is this important to know? Because when you can identify these tasks, delegating will actually become one of your priorities. Let's talk briefly about the differences between management and leadership. The differences are really simple, but are often confused. Management oversees tasks. Leaders influence people. Managers maintain results. Leaders multiply results. Now let me say that again. Management oversees tasks. Leaders influence people. Managers maintain results. Leaders multiply results. John Maxwell said it best when he said, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Steve Jobs once said, management is about persuading people to do things they don't want to do, while leadership is about persuading people to do things they never thought they could do. Let's talk about the 5 levels of leadership. Review the model for a moment, and I'll be right back to explain it. Management is the first level of leadership, which is positional. Here, you now have a platform to increase your influence with others. When you reach the second level of leadership, you have become competent at the first level, which naturally increases your influence. Why? Because the people you lead and manage respect you and begin to give you permission to lead them. Now think about it. Don't you think it's a huge difference in being someone's leader and simply being their boss? To reach the third level of leadership, you must not only be competent at managing your work, but also the work of the people who have trusted you to lead them. That third level of leadership is the productivity level. At this level, you have helped your team to improve overall team performance. And at this level, you and your team are committed to achieving results together that are aligned with organizational goals. Here, you hold yourself and your team accountable. Once you have led yourself and your team well, you can now move to the fourth level, people development. Here's where you now pull other potential leaders up and empower them to lead by helping them increase their influence. Now, leadership is becoming multiplied. Level 5 leadership is the pinnacle stage and is a position of true respect. It has become your reality because you've led yourself and others well consistently. When you get to this level, you have consistently recruited other leaders, trained, coached, empowered, and released them to do the same for others and the organization. Here, your reputation will precede you because you have grown the organization by growing the people in it. Now you can understand that to be the most effective as a manager and a leader, you must first understand how to prioritize well. Now let's get into how to apply key number 1, prioritizing. The first point in this prioritizing lesson is to identify critical assignments linked to your goals. Linking assignments to your goals helps you prioritize each activity. To do this, first, think about your major roles and responsibilities. Next, list the short-term and long-term goals for each role and responsibility. Next, list the major assignments or activities necessary for achieving each goal. Now at this point, let's stop for a few minutes to give you the opportunity to develop a list of major tasks that you're responsible for. Write them down on the list provided in your guide. They don't have to be in any particular order. You'll have a chance to prioritize them shortly. I'll see you in about 3 minutes, which should give you enough time to complete this exercise. Welcome back. Next, you should see a graph in your guide, and in the top part of it, there's an illustration to help you see how to go through the process of determining a priority, how to determine the top goals for it, and the important tasks to accomplish the goals. The example provided is for a retail business, but the process will work for any responsibility or goal. After reviewing the process, pick one of your top priorities or areas of responsibility and work out the process in the space provided in the lower part of the graph. I'll see you back here in about 3 minutes. Welcome back. Hopefully you noticed that this process helps identify activities that lie outside your major responsibilities, the ones that don't necessarily help you achieve important goals. These non-essential activities are good candidates for elimination from your to-do list, or at the very least, they can become activities to reprioritize. For more practice later, we have provided additional worksheets at the end of your participant guide. The second point in this lesson is we must categorize assignments based on urgency and importance. Prioritize your assignments by distinguishing those that are less critical from those that are more important. Consider two factors when determining your priorities. Number one, determine how important the assignment is to achieving the goal. And number two, determine the urgency of the assignment. Considering these two factors help us to clarify the goal of simplifying our activities. Too many important goals cause our focus and energy to leak. There's no such thing as two top or number one priorities. Why? Because there's only one number one. Each main goal will most likely create sub-goals or lesser goals that will require an activity requiring energy. Clarifying the overall goal will give you greater focus and the ability to decide where to spend your energy to receive the highest payoff. Let's now review the following table chart on how to categorize. It's a useful guide for prioritizing your work, and it's called the 80-20 rule. The principle implies that in most situations, 20% of the people eat 80% of the food at a buffet. The principle also implies that 20% of the people take on 80% of the responsibility and get 80% of the work done. Now, it's not always true in every situation, but as a rule of thumb, it's usually the case. Using that rule, it means 80% of your effectiveness results from completing 20% of your activities, the 20% of your top priorities and responsibilities. Focus on the 20% of your activities that lead to the highest payoffs. Spending more of your spare time on the do-it-soon activities will give you more time to handle the do-it-now activities. Ensure that the do-it-soon activities account for a large portion of the things on your to-do list each day. In addition, make sure your priorities reflect A, yours and your department's objectives. B, the organization's visions, values, and mission statement. C, organizational, departmental, and customer client priorities. And finally, D, your manager's priorities.
Hi everyone, it's Yanis here, and in this video we will explore what is Pareto Principle. We will look at what it is, how does it work, why it's important, and I'll also share some examples to illustrate it. If this is your first time on this channel, then make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to get updates on my latest videos about time management and productivity. The Pareto Principle, also known as 80-20 rule, states that 80% of your results come from only 20% of your efforts. The principle is initially credited to Vilfredo Pareto, who noticed back in early 1900s that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of Italy's people. The Pareto Principle can be applied to all areas of life. 20% of clients bring in 80% of profits. 80% of pollution originates from 20% of all factories. 80% of customers only use 20% of software features, and 20% of blog posts generate 80% of traffic. You can also use this principle when it comes to your productivity, as you probably achieve 80% of your results in about 20% of your time. So if you have 10 tasks on your to-do list, then 2 of these tasks will probably bring you 80% of the progress. You have to find these 2 tasks and focus on them first before you do anything else on that day, and that shouldn't be so hard to do. These 2 tasks are probably the most difficult tasks on your list, so go ahead and work on them first. If you want to increase your productivity, you don't have to worry about how you're going to get everything done, but instead you have to focus your energy on the most important things. If you want to put the Pareto principle to work, then you have to look at every area of your life and see how you can focus more on those 20% and delegate or outsource the remaining 80%.
Now let's stop for a few minutes and do a group activity. In your group, pick someone to be the scribe for the following exercise. Have someone in the group list 10 daily activities a person in the group is responsible for. Then, prioritize them 1 through 10 and discuss how spending 80% of their activities on their top 2 goals makes them more effective. I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. The third important thing to remember in this lesson is to adjust priorities when appropriate. Over time, your to-do list will change. New assignments will be added and old ones will be eliminated. Changes in customer client needs, organizational priorities, department needs, and personal objectives will require you to adjust your priorities. This doesn't mean automatically putting new demands at the top of your to-do list. Although it's important to be flexible when urgent needs arise, ensure new assignments are tied to key objectives before adjusting priorities. Someone once said, "Stay married to the goal rather than your plan." The goals aren't as likely to change, but the plan may have to. When I say goals in this context, I'm talking about responsibilities. Goals may change if the overall plan changes. The point is to remain flexible. That's the end of this lesson. Meet me in the next lesson as we discuss key action number 2, determine tasks and resources.